a mandated every 10-year process. So the federal government will do its federal census, which we're all love to participate in. So they'll get the numbers, and then the 50 states will all do their own process of redistricting. Essentially, so we're going to go into how it works with the legislature and the governor, and then potentially the Secretary of State.
No, the job of redistricting is given to the Legislative Assembly with approval by the governor. Okay, if the Legislative Assembly cannot arrive at a decision on redistricting, then, and we have to a date certain that we have to do it. If that doesn't happen by that date, then it goes to the Secretary of State to draw the map, and that becomes the map. Okay.
And we actually have authority over the federal, the congressional House districts as well.
Yeah. Now, the interesting story on redistricting. 20 years ago, when the Republicans had the majority, we drew a really nice map, and we thought it was fair. Okay. And we were ready to vote on it. We had the votes, and we were going to go forward with it. And this was in the House. The House Democrats left the building. They were gone for 2 weeks. And what that did was deny us a quorum, so we couldn't do business. Okay? And then the decision fell to the Secretary of State, who was Bill Bradbury, and
the rest is history.
See, now, so here's the thing. The Democrats are now in control, but we have a Republican Secretary of State, so we have bargaining power now. So,
and a very fair man. I feel I'm very confident that Dennis is doing the best job any Secretary of State in a long time has. Some of my Democrat colleagues that I take out to dinner once in a while just to have good conversation with, even they feel good about Dennis being the Secretary of State, even though he's from the opposition party. So he's a good man of character.
To follow up on that, is there a chance
I'll have to get
in the U.S. House?
Pardon me?
We'll get back here. Let's wait. This gentleman's in line here in the back.
Just to finish up on that subject, we think, just by pure census of the country, that Oregon will have 6 House seats in the next census. How they're divided, anybody's guess, but I think we're going to pick up a 6th.
I think we're 3rd most likely right now to pick up a new seat.
Sorry.
That's right. Sir.
Gentlemen, you both seem somewhat skeptical regarding climate change, and curious where your stands are, given that there's quite a bit of evidence that it's already impacting the Oregon economy. This year we saw millions of dollars of shellfish, the shellfish industry impacted by increased ocean acidity and parasites. Mm-hmm. You see impacts of climate change all around us. And yet you both seem to deny or are at least skeptical the impact of climate change in our community.
I am skeptical. I mean, both the senator and I are both farmers. I mean, I've grown up out, experiencing the environment every year of my life in an intense way. I'm not saying that man-made pollution.
What about the science?
Well, the science goes both ways if you want to be honest about that.
Over 90% of science is
Most of those scientists aren't climate scientists. Most of those scientists are not climate scientists. Number one, 2 things. Ocean acidification is a separate issue. We're in a multi-state group to try to do something about that. That's a completely separate issue. Okay? Now, you want science? Here's a scientific fact for you. If all human activity stopped in Oregon today and never existed again, the impact on the global climate would not be measurable. That is a scientific fact.
So there's nothing we can do about it?
So the thing is, why should we suffer for something we can't have an impact on?
All right, let's use that fact, please.
All right, everybody, let's keep calm. I would say though, investments. Now as far as the shellfish, sir, I don't have any knowledge or background in that, so I couldn't say.
Well, we've got some major legislation coming on that, but we've been working with California, Washington, and BC for several years on trying to. That's a separate issue.
So what have you done with climate science? Are you reading any of the scientists' positions on?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I would. This again. I'm going to bring this back to regardless of my opinion. Folks, let's respect each other here and let's let each other finish. We'll get to you in a second. Again, regardless of your position on it, there's investments being made at the federal and this state level all the time, one way or the other. And I am not confident at all that we are making the right investments to accomplish your goals. I'll give you a great example. My first year, 2015, we passed tax credits for wood-burning stoves in rural Oregonian fireplaces in their homes to switch out existing ones because they're not efficient enough in some people's opinion. And they're not as efficient as the new ones, no doubt. But the fact of the matter is when you're giving $1,000 away per fireplace and you're worried about particulate matter pollution from fires in the wintertime in rural Oregonian, but at the same time, the Department of Environmental Quality, when I asked them, I said, well, where's your science and your data on the impact of federal forest fires? They said, we're not considering that in this situation. So it's like, okay, my tractor's on fire over here, and I'm just going to let that happen while I put out the trash can over here. Regardless of whether you're for it or you're not for it, that doesn't make sense in a mathematical equation to me. And so that's the kind of argument I'm making, and they're not listening because it's more about the optics up there than it is about science or real impact. It's a fact.
Subject would be sanctuary state. I would like to not be included as having made a decision to keep known felons out of the hands of ICE. Now, we have friends from probably a dozen different countries. They're all immigrants. They're all great people, and they've all done this immigration thing legally. Underscore legally. They are not in favor of having undocumented felons kept in our state. Yet, by the fact we're living here, and unfortunately, Governor Brown, I think, and a few others of the Merry Band, have decided that this is what we're going to be. I disagree with that, and I would like to know how to prevent this because I don't like being complicit to a felony.
Actually, Oregon has been a sanctuary state since 1987.
Really?
Oregon became a sanctuary state the year after Reagan's immigration policy went into effect.
How do we change it?
Huh?
How do we change that?
And in this political environment, we don't.
That's what I'm afraid.
And it's a tough issue.
What interests me is why these schools in these other cities are becoming sanctuary cities or sanctuary schools. It's pure political fluff because we're already a sanctuary state. So they're just getting in the paper. That's all they're doing with that.
So, Miss, we'll get you next. There's a gentleman in the back.
Oh, I was just curious as to what the transportation package was that you were working on.
Well, we don't know the details yet. I will guarantee you that the package we get, I mean, we're dealing with roads, bridges, we're dealing with mass transit, railroads, airports, the whole 9 yards. Unfortunately, too much in seismic, but that's a whole other issue. But I don't expect that we will actually see the entire meat of the package till probably sometime middle of June. There's just a lot of work to do on it.
Yeah, I was kind of out of self-interest. I was thinking about my community in Winston and anything that's not a state road.
Okay. The one thing I can tell you for an absolute fact is the percentages in the funding will not change. So I mean, currently.
As far as how it's dispersed, you mean?
Yeah, how it's dispersed. The percentages, states get 50%, counties 30, and cities 20, and that's not going to change.
Okay.
Something I wanted to ask you about is, I was absolutely appalled to read in the paper that our governor put in the budget that she wants to give Medicaid to illegals. And I do not want to pay for that. And the gall of her to put that in the budget, and they're going to try to pass it through an emergency clause, so we have no say. I mean, I am so against that. We have our own people to take care of. You do not attract more people illegally by giving them benefits. I'm very against that.
And so just so everyone understands, she referenced an emergency clauses on that legislation. So if it passes the legislature and the governor signs it, it means that the voters do not have the ability to go out, get petitions, put it on the ballot, and go against it in the fall. But there's a lot of bills that get emergency clauses that personally I'm fine with because they're just technical fix stuff. That's a highly controversial piece of legislation, and we shouldn't be doing that.
I told you, the governor creates a budget that has what she wants to do in it, or he, if it's a male government. But that's gonna be a ways and means decision, and how we're gonna fund current Medicaid is gonna be a struggle to start with. So I'm not sure how
That's the other problem we're gonna have with Medicaid, is that.
the expansion population.
Yeah, we got a special waiver to increase Medicaid even more under Obamacare. Now they granted us the waiver, but they're not giving us the money that went along with the waiver. So that means that Oregonians are gonna have to pay for it.
See, this is part of the problem for us trying to do a budget, because, the bill they tried to get through the House dealt with two of, Obamacare has 12 mandates in it, okay? There's taxes and other things in there. What they tried to pass had repealing of two mandates, and that one of them being the employer-employee tax. And what they're talking about in the House now is adding eliminating two more of the mandates. And so how those things all roll out and what they finally end up with, it makes it really hard for us to know what numbers
We
would
can
be.
continue the expansion of the Medicaid that we'll no longer get money from the federal government for,
Right.
which means Oregonians have to pay for it, and
Well,
I don't want to.
Okay, that becomes a budget decision. So,
This gentleman here in the back.
Yeah, Senator Kruse, what's the bill number of the legislation that you're doing new wording on for OMMP?
it doesn't have a bill number.
Oh, it doesn't have a bill number yet.
We may do a gut stuff on a bill that exists. We haven't decided what the number's gonna be.
Okay.
So,
Next.
Where can I find that out? When you get the language finalized?
we'll be scheduled for hearing, so.
Okay.
Another gentleman there.
I want to thank you two gentlemen for being here, and I want you to know that being a politician is like being a lawyer. You guys are very confused. I've been in the lawyer's office all day today, and now I'm dealing with politicians.
But they get paid.
It's a hard life to deal with, and for me to understand you, I get confused. And when I listen to all the concerns here, and I understand what everybody's trying to say, and we're speaking what we feel. And I appreciate your time and effort to listen to us. And then I thought back to one of your conversations earlier today about the roads and the schools. And I would have sworn I remember in previous discussions, now I've lived in one or two states other than this one, that when the lottery was approved, that we wouldn't have to worry about those two items. But somebody's misappropriating that money. And I have to say, it comes up to the politicians to answer for that. The same with our Social Security funds in the federal government. It was misused, and now supposedly we don't have it.
Right.
Who makes those decisions is the politician. So I said my 2 cents. Now, the reason for me being here is got nothing to do with your money. I need help. I'm a retired Marine. I'm a senior citizen. And I feel I'm being abused. I'm being neglected. I've been writing you two gentlemen for months. I've dropped off my literature to you guys for months. Dealing with living in manufactured home parks. There's quite a population of people who live in manufactured home parks.
Yeah.
And I was working as an advocate for years, working with manufactured homes for Oregon State Tennis Association. I've gone out to a lot of the parks, not all the parks, and I have found numerous problems. And my problem is not want your money. I want you to support the law. And I can't get anybody to protect residents in manufactured home parks. Every time I go to ask for help, they say, get a lawyer. Do you know what a lawyer costs?
Are we talking about like being evicted from the park?
Well, I'm talking about being overcharged for water.
Yep.
I'm talking about being treated with disrespect. I'm talking about selling my park illegally. I'm talking about an owner of a park holding checks for up to a year for people who paid.
Yep.
Never given a receipt. I'm talking about an owner that says, you have to have this amount of money to qualify, but won't show you what it takes to qualify to be in a park. We have residents in parks that are mistreated every day. I have parks that I've been to where the residents are being fined up to $200 a month. And if they don't pay that fine at the time they pay the rent, they're subject to be evicted. That's against the law. Nobody enforces the law that is written. Now, I've been in the coalition. I've been on the board of directors for Manufactured Oregon State Tennis Association for years. I'm no longer there because I don't feel I'm being effective. I'm here to voice something to you. I don't need your money, I need your time. I need you to listen to these residents. I've invited you to our parks. I presented this material to you for the last 4 or 5 months since I've gone out on my own, we'll say. We need help. I've got a couple clients from a park, Riverview Park, right here. I'm from Canyonville, Manufactured Home Park, okay? I presented their information, both parks, to you in different ways, plus other parks throughout the state, as Reedsport. You know, the land is disappearing underneath their house because they were built on a sawmill. Nobody will come out and look at it. Well, I've asked you to come out. Reedsport, not Reedsport, I'm sorry.
What's your name and your phone number?
My name is Charlie. My phone number's in that paperwork. I've given you both my email addresses, sent you many a time.
Is it in the back or?
Mr. Kruse, you're even sending me your email. I've got your email today. But you've never given me the time to sit down and want to talk to me. I actually went up to one person who gave me the time and sent me to his assistant, we'll say that day, who sat there and listened to me for 15 minutes, because that's all I was allotted, while he went out and chased a little girl that was his secretary. I was a little disappointed with that. I won't give out names, I'm just telling you. I'm disappointed. I feel neglected. And I put a piece of my life towards this country, the same as many other people here. And when you look at a manufactured home park, there's different extremes of parks. The law is not up to date. It needs to be looked at. Our coalition is unfair, because when you go to a coalition meeting, if you ever went to one, I don't know if you have or you haven't, but the representation by ownership is a lot stronger and a lot more qualified, because they send their lawyers there to do the talking. When we as residents go there, we're limited. And actually, they shun us. They don't even listen to us. So I'm looking for help, not money. I'm looking for someone to help enforce Oregon State law, Title 10, Chapter 90. It's not being enforced to the benefit of the residents. We're getting murdered. You're going to end up with a bunch of us homeless.
Yep.
We're being forced out of our homes. Our rents are going up. You know why? Because they're being bought up by out-of-state owners. They know they come to the state, there's no law to protect the residents.
Is this your cell phone that's in here?
Everything's there, sir.
So I'm going to shoot you a text right now so you have my contact, and we'll meet next week on Friday.
I want to sit down with you. You're absolutely right.